Him, written by Sanna Hartfield. Chapter 4. He was about halfway down the basement stairs when he heard a faint noise. It didn't sound like a woman's voice. Once again he thought, what the hell has happened here? He concentrated as much as he possibly could and stopped before he was all the way down in the basement. He pinched his arm and yes, he felt it. He had woken up from a bad dream about Sara, drank coffee or at least tried to, had a cigarette and even talked to Marcus. Surely he was awake. Just as he took the last step down onto the basement floor, the lights began to flicker and he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned around quickly and saw a figure that was like a cross between an angel and something terrifying he couldn't put into words. The figure said as softly as possible, "Well, you're finally here with me." He just shook his head and made some random noise out of fear. The voice continued, "You look scared, or are you confused? Isn't this what you wanted? Or have you changed your mind? In any case, it is too late now." He turned away from her. Now he was so confused and a little bit irritated that his whole body was shaking. Who was she? It sounded like a she anyway, to tell him what he wanted. He thought the voice sounded a little cocky at the same time as it sounded weak. He managed to mumble, "No, you don't know me." The light stopped flickering and stayed a bit faint. I really need to clean up down here, he thought, looking around. He stood there for a while and thought about everything and anything from the dream to what he was going to have for dinner that night. The basement seemed freezing all of a sudden, and he thought he heard more mumbling and strange noises. That other voice! Where had it come from? Well, this must be a weird dream, huh? Now he had had enough and was just about to go back upstairs when he saw something out of the corner of his eye. What looked like a person was tied up in a corner of the basement. It looked like someone with short hair, worn jeans, and a dirty sweater. It didn't look like Sara. He slowly crept forward with a pounding heart. He was usually pretty cool, but this made him feel uneasy. What the hell? It was he himself who sat there slumped over. He must have been there for a while because the blood that had run down his temples was completely dry, and he didn't seem to be moving at all. Everything started to come back to him like a tidal wave of sharp metal. Of course he had brought Sara to his house, but not the night before. It had been several weeks ago. She hadn't appreciated his advances. He had tried to seduce her according to all the rules of the art of seduction, but she just wanted to be mates. Right then and there he had decided that he couldn't let anyone else have her. Even though he didn't know her that well, he had been obsessed and so deeply in love that he would have to lock her up. He seemed to remember putting something in her drink, but not enough, because just as quickly as she had passed out, she had come to her senses and realized what was happening. She had managed to fight back when he jumped her. They had started to wrestle in the kitchen and hit each other with anything they got their hands on. In the hall, she had almost made it to the front door, but he had grabbed one of her legs and dragged her towards the basement door. His house was built in such a way that no one could have heard her cries for help. He had just replied with an arrogant voice, "If I can't have you." In one swift movement, they had both fallen down the stairs, and he remembered how hard he had hit his head. She had gotten hold of something like a crowbar and a rope. The fight had continued for a while, and finally she had managed to tie him to a pipe after hitting him as hard as she could in the face. "Sara, what the hell? Come on, sure we can." She had interrupted. "Shut up, you sicko! I don't even know what to call you. You'll never." She couldn't find any more words than that, and had started to crawl towards the stairs. She now stood behind him and said quietly, "Do you understand now? You got what you wanted in the end. I don't know what else I can do but stay by your side forever." He tried to find the strength to talk, but only managed to say, "Sara, it wasn't meant to end like this." The tears now ran down his face like a waterfall, because he remembered how she had tried to creep up the stairs covered in blood and looking very fragile, as he took his last breaths.